You had the biggest head, the biggest cone head, plus you had a big old knot on one side of your head. So you're just looking like a little alien right at that time.
You said, I'll go hide the eggs. Where are the eggs?
We can't find any.
The gag was...
There was no. I just wanted them to go away for a while. Then I'd be trying to hold your head under the faucet, and you go, she's choking me! Help! She's killing me! She's choking me! Help! Somebody help! Help!
See, too smart.
Every night. I was going to be Mrs. Estrada, and you were going to be David Estrada. You'd scream and cry and just throw a fit. No. I'm going to marry Chips, and he's going to be your new daddy.
What do you know? What do you say? Welcome back. Welcome in. Thanks for joining us once again. If you haven't yet, give us a visit over at facebook.com/TheyThatBelieve. You can find everything you need to know there where the pods are. We would appreciate if you haven't visited yet, give us a like, give us a share, and most importantly, when and if you can, tell a friend. Word of mouth just helps make a good pod even better, and that's really helped us grow. All right, we're in a different place today. We are in beautiful and historic Nashville, Tennessee, Nash Vegas, and as we sit here and record, it's game day. Tennessee Titans just suffered a loss. We'll talk about that here in just a minute, I guess. A little bit. I won't. Somebody else will. And we were in town for the Wizard World Con, the comic book convention, which I'm not going to spend a lot of time on today because Randall and I will talk about that during our regular show time. We're in grandmother's house, my grandmother's house, or my boyhood home in Nashville, Tennessee, actually in the Joelton area. And this is a special pod, a bonus pod. We have my dear sweet saint of a mother with us today. Mom is here. The rest of the general public knows her as Nancy, but we call her Mom. Gretchen's here. She's at the table with us, too. So we thought while we had time to visit, because we hadn't seen Mom in a while, and I tried to get a little extra mileage out of everything, so I said, let's do a pod. And as I famously joked with Randall last week when I was telling him about it, I tried to explain it to Mom that it's a radio. How does it work? What do you do? It's a radio show that's not on the radio, and who gets that? It's weird. But once I kind of explained it to her and said, yeah, we sit down and talk and just tell funny stories. Then I got nervous because she said, yes, really fast. Yeah, I'll do it. Yeah, turn them on. I'll do it. So where to begin? Well, I guess just introduce yourself. Tell everybody who you are, what I didn't already cover, and what you do, and where you live, and why you're here.
Excuse me just a minute while I wipe my tears. Over this Titans game, I'm a little upset. Y'all have to excuse me.
Well, we were going to cover that. Maybe we should start there. We waited a few extra minutes to kind of let the game wind down, and it has. So, of course, anybody that follows will know what happened. But how are you feeling right now? What happened today? How has your football experience been today?
I'd just rather not talk about it right now, son.
You're too emotional. Should we take a break?
I'm too emotional. No. I think I can collect myself. I'll be okay.
Like in the courtroom. Do we need to take a break, counsel? No.
Let me just explain, though. Nancy is a super fan of the Titans. And so this is very detrimental for a loss.
It's very emotional.
So how does that work? Because you guys are big Titans fans, right? Y'all do this every Sunday. Randall and I were talking last week about football because Nathan's playing football now, and Randall was kind of educating me on the whole Tom Brady thing and all that. But you guys are into football. It was funny earlier because Mom was explaining the 2-point conversion and all. My mother is explaining football to me, but I just never was interested in it. I don't.
That's okay.
So, but you guys weren't though not for a long time. I mean, you didn't watch football when I was a kid. Of course, we didn't have a professional team then, but
right.
So
if we watched it, it was mostly just Vanderbilt.
Right, and Randall and I talked about that last week too on our pod because your father, my grandfather, who we call Big Daddy, that was his nickname. He was a referee. He officiated football and basketball for Vanderbilt University. So you get to, and occasionally you go to game, don't you?
Yes, we do.
Yes, we do.
But it's a little different from when I was growing up than when you were growing up. When I was young, we only had 3 TV channels. And on the weekends, that's all you could watch.
I didn't think about that.
Football was all. That was the only thing that was on in our house. So that's what I got used to watching. And when you came along, we had a bunch of other channels and cartoons and all the other stuff. We didn't watch much football then.
You didn't watch football then? I thought
Not much. Not like I did when we were young. And we had to. We didn't have any choice. That's all that was on.
So how did this affinity for the Titans come then? Was it just the excitement of when we got the team into town and
That's
you
it.
guys kind of, people say this and it's a negative, and I don't mean it as a negative, but you kind of jumped on the bandwagon, as it were.
That's it. Jumped on the bandwagon. That was it. I thought it was the dumbest thing that could ever be in the beginning. I really got into it.
The idea of you enjoying football, or that Nashville had a team? Or
That Nashville was getting a team.
Why'd you think that?
I don't really know. I
You
really
didn't
don't know,
think
son.
You didn't think we could support one?
No, I really didn't.
Well, I mean, it seems if we could support a hockey team, of course that's stupid because I don't know what it takes to
I don't
support
know
either.
much
But
about
I mean,
hockey either.
well, the Predators are big business. They're very popular. and
Yes, they are.
Not that.
I just didn't think people would support a professional football team, but I was wrong, and now I'm right in there with them.
Do we have a? Do you have a favorite player? Or
Mine are more back in the older days. Wycheck, McNair, Eddie George. Right now, I guess if I had to pick a favorite one, it would be somebody like Michael Griffin.
I know you have a favorite coach.
Oh, Fish all the way.
You had a little crush on Coach Fisher?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, okay.
I do. Still do. Got a picture of him hanging up in my office
Do
at
you
work.
really?
Yes, I do.
Jeff Fisher.
I
Where is he
certainly-
now? What's he doing? He's still coaching
in,
somewhere, right?
St. Louis.
Okay. Rams. He's coaching the Rams. Okay. I did know that. All right. You still kind of keep up with it. Did that make you want to follow the Rams at all? Or
Yeah, I do.
just since it's his team?
Yep. Just because it's his team. Couldn't tell you anybody on the team, but I follow him because of
He
him.
didn't go very far. St. Louis is that. Well, you mentioned your office at work. Tell people about what it is that you do professionally.
Professionally, I am an administrative financial assistant, which is just a fancy word for a bookkeeper, basically, for an animal hospital.
In Bellshire, Tennessee.
In
which is
Bellshire, Tennessee.
sort of
Dr. Robert F. Ingram.
Right. And folks probably would not know the Bellshire area, but would probably generally know if we said it's close to Goodlettsville. I guess that would probably.
It's between downtown Nashville and Goodlettsville.
And how long have you been there now?
I've been there for over 20 years.
20 years? Mm-hmm. Really?
That's right.
Whoa, okay.
Time flies when you're having fun, son.
No doubt. I knew it had been a long time. I didn't think it had been that long. And even though that's not really necessarily in the heart of downtown Nashville, I mean, it's not like it's Music Row or Printer's Alley or anything, but you've had occasion to be offer veterinary services to the stars.
Garth Brooks.
Right. Well, very famously, of course, now you've already buried the lead, but I was going to.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, no, that's okay. I was going to open the door for you and allow you to tell us about the superstar that killed his own dog.
Well, he ran over it. He didn't mean to. But this was years ago when he lived in Nashville.
How did that happen?
He ran over his own dog. He brought it into the clinic, and he stayed there all day long while they tried to save his dog.
Did it happened in the driveway?
In his driveway. Or somewhere on his property. I don't know
It was
exactly
with a
where.
car. He backed over.
In the truck. He was in his truck and somehow or another ran over his dog.
And you said he was, as I remember, it's been a long time since I've recalled that story, but he came in pretty emotional, didn't he?
Yes, he did. He was very emotional. He stayed there all day long.
Did you recognize him when he came in?
Oh,
when he came
yes.
in the door, you immediately know,
Yes.
oh, that's him. And,
Yes,
and
but
he's
you
weeping.
try not to be so starstruck, especially
Right.
during a time like that.
Especially when he comes in weeping
Yes,
and
he was.
snotting.
He
It's
was,
not the time
very
to ask
much so.
for an autograph.
All day long.
But your Garth Brooks connection actually goes back even a little further, because at one point in time, you worked with his or around his first wife, Sandy.
Well, she would just come in the clinic and bring their animals.
No. At a previous job, the place that
The
you worked
Medicare
before.
office.
Yeah. Sandy, his first wife. You don't even remember that, and I remember.
really don't.
Oh man. Yeah, you would tell me.
You
about
mean
that.
she worked there?
I think.
Or I
of
told
course,
you that?
I'm remembering what it is that
So
you said.
I could have possibly just made that up and told you.
Well, I don't know why you would.
I don't either.
Why somebody's wife working in an office would.
That does sound kind of familiar now that you say that.
That's not exactly the story that you would then turn around to tell and impress people. My mom works with Garth Brooks' wife in an
That's
office
true.
building, and
That's true.
it's not nearly
Yeah.
as interesting as killing a dog.
Well, he didn't mean to. It was an accident.
Well, I know. I didn't say he did it intentionally. Is anybody else famous? That's the only story I remember you talking about him. Anybody else that maybe ever would have come in there?
Not anybody really famous. Not that I can think of right at the moment.
Well, all right. Well, let's leave those folks where they are and start talking about important people. And we should begin maybe with you regaling the listeners with tales of my birth.
Oh.
Let's go back to that lovely. Let's go back to that lovely spring day.
Oh, no, let's don't.
1974. What do you recall about? I say it was a lovely spring day. It may have been raining or.
No, it was a beautiful day as far as weather-wise.
Even the weather was beautiful.
Even
it was
the
a
weather
beautiful
was
day
beautiful.
for many accounts.
Right.
What do you recall about that day?
I
How did
recall
it go
that
down?
how it went down was I went to the hospital. I had already been in labor for a little while. Light labor. But they started me up something to induce my labor, and I went all day long. No pain medication. Back in those days, we didn't have epidurals or anything.
Really?
No. Or if we did, nobody offered me one. And come time to give birth, they take you off into another room. They put a gas mask on me. I woke up. They brought you to me. And I just argued with them saying, no, that is not my baby. That's not my baby.
Now, what prompted that?
Well, because you had the biggest head, the biggest cone head that ever was. And I just could not believe that would be my baby. But, of course, now you have to remember I wasn't in my right mind at that time.
Okay. Well, then that's something
So
to do
I
with
accepted it the next day.
That's something to do with the forceps or something that they use.
A vacuum.
Okay,
That's what we call
it can temporarily, because the baby's head is soft,
Right.
and it can temporarily deform it. So
You had the long cone head, plus you had a big old knot on one side of your head. So you're just looking like a little alien right at that time. And but they just told me just keep rubbing your head around, rubbing it around, and it would round out, and it did.
it'll work itself out.
It worked itself out, but you had some toes that was stuck together.
Yeah. Well, I still have those. That didn't work.
They
itself.
never did. They never did
didn't-
come apart, did
That
they?
didn't work itself out. No,
No,
two little toes stuck together.
It was all worth it, but I decided never to do it again. But it was worth every bit.
Now, what kind of child would you say that I was? I have often told folks, and you never know sometimes if you remember things wrong or you hear things wrong. Or I have always told folks that I was a quiet child. Didn't I recall that you said I didn't cry much? Or
You didn't cry much, but you were not quiet.
well, I meant I didn't mean as like a toddler or school age. I meant like as an infant. Or
Oh, no,
whatever.
you were a great baby. You were great.
See,
You ate,
okay.
slept, laughed.
I can be redeemed from my fat head.
Oh, yes,
Or
yes.
cone head,
Alien head.
alien head.
No, you were a great baby.
You was fine then.
You
but
were a great toddler. You just talked all the time.
I talked all the time. Okay. Well, what manner of thing might I have? What was so important that I had to talk about?
I don't know, because I tuned you out most of the time.
Interesting. Well, we were talking. I was talking to Randall last week when we were doing our pod, and I was trying to keep things sort of on the down low, or kind of secretive, and I didn't let anybody else listening hear, because we were talking about coming to the con, and we knew there was going to be some celebrities there and some of the folks that we saw, and one of whom was very important to us. To me and you.
Yeah.
And I tried my best to keep that a secret, and because I wanted to kind of surprise you with it. But then, of course, first thing you asked me when you came in the door was you knew all about it. So, okay. Well, anyway, we won't get the big surprise or the big reveal, but we will. We'll tell everybody now who we're talking about. But okay, let's go back to that. Sometimes I want to say I was young, but I would think like 4 or 5 or 6, but it was really young. I always overshoot it. We were living in
I'd
an
say
apartment.
maybe 3, 4.
when we were living in that apartment. But yeah, for some reason I think of myself being older, and I go, no. I do the math. I go, no, it was So what was our routine? We're talking about our TV shows.
Would be on weekends on Saturday night. We would watch Chips, and then we would watch Saturday Night Live back in the days of the Coneheads and Steve Martin. Back in those days.
Oh, yeah. With the banjo and King Tut.
The banjo and the arrow on his head and the two wild and crazy guys.
That's when that King Tut thing was a phenomenon.
Mm-hmm.
Really.
Yeah.
I liked how you put it when you said the cleaner days of Saturday Night Live.
Funny days, yeah, back then, when kids could actually watch Saturday Night Live.
And you tell me if I'm right, to get perspective on it, when he did his King Tut, or the Boy King, his whole thing. But that's when the King Tut exhibit was traveling, right? And it was.
Oh, I don't know.
That was kind of what made it contemporary or whatever like that.
I don't know about that.
Well, let's talk about Chips.
Chips. That was my future husband.
Yeah. Well, go ahead. Well, I don't know which sequence to do this in, but we got to meet and see, and I took it, maybe when I put the pod up, I'll put the picture up or something, but we got to meet with Eric Estrada. To us, what was yesterday over the weekend, and I had important stories to tell him and regaled him with tales of my childhood. But you go ahead and you tell him about watching Chips and your dreams of Mr. Estrada.
Mr. Estrada, I was going to be Mrs. Estrada, and you were going to be David Estrada.
That actually kind of has a ring to it, David Estrada. It sounds like a baseball player.
And I used to kind of torture you with that, telling you I was going to marry Chips and he was going to be your daddy.
Yes.
You'd scream and cry and just throw a fit. No. Every week I'd say, I'm going to marry Chips and he's going to be your new daddy. You were just traumatized by that.
And why?
I don't know why.
Was it just a jealousy? Maybe just a jealousy thing?
I think so, yeah.
Because I had you all to myself.
Pretty much.
I didn't want...
You didn't want anybody else around.
Well, yeah, yesterday, as we said, it was yesterday, we got to meet with Eric Estrada, and I got a minute or two of FaceTime with him, and I'll play some of the audio here in just a moment. But and was not it didn't even just stop there. I don't even think in childhood, but many years later. And I've not discussed this on any of the previous pods. I've kind of tried to. I just didn't really want to talk about it or publicize, but I don't guess it matters. We got to talk about it, tell the story today. One of the careers that I've had, in addition to pastoring churches, I've been a police officer for 15 years. And Eric Estrada is he's still a reserve police officer, deputy in California. And I'm sorry, I don't know if it's with CHP or one of the sheriff's departments out there, but he has remained active with his philanthropy and charitable works with the 1199 Foundation, which gives scholarships to families and children of CHP officers, and with the DARE program and all that. He's such a good friend to law enforcement. And that was one of the things that I was really grateful to meet him about and shake his hand and tell him how much we loved him and thanked him for it. And just a super, super sweet guy. And all right, now would be a good time. I'm gonna insert the audio here of our visit with Eric Estrada, and I got to tell him how much Mom was in love with him, and it was so great because, as you'll hear in the audio, maybe I don't know how hard it is to hear. I recorded it on my cell phone, but there's a lady that was with him who was like his handler, and when I said, my mom was so in love with you, and of course he laughed, and the lady that was with him, his handler, she rolled her eyes and she goes, "Oh yeah, the only woman in America."
But she didn't know I was going to marry him.
But the idea being that, like, everybody was,
of course,
all the ladies were, even when I put the picture up of he and I on Facebook, and a friend of mine was like, she said when she was 8 years old, she wrote him a letter to wait for her until she turned 16 so they could run away and get married too. So, all right, well, let me play some of that, and again, hopefully you can hear it pretty well. But here's the audio of me talking to Eric Estrada at the Wizard World Con.
Very well. It's been a long time waiting to get to meet you. When I was a little boy, about 3 or 4 years old, and my mother and father divorced. She had a lot of drug problems. She's now deceased. But we didn't have very much.
Yeah, I went through that. My dad was a heroin addict.
We lived in an apartment, and one of the shows that we regularly watched was Chips.
Sunday night.
And she tormented me because she was in love with you.
Oh.
And she would say, I'm going to marry him. And I would get so jealous. And I said, no, you're not. And in 2002, I graduated the police academy. And she commented that day, we talked about you a lot that day, about how handsome I looked. And she, of course, told me I looked more handsome than you.
Yeah, well.
I've been a police officer for 15 years. I pastor 2 churches now.
Wow, we're out here?
In West Tennessee.
Wow.
And I wanted you to know how much you're loved and how much we appreciate you being a friend of law enforcement.
Oh, yeah.
We need that.
Oh, yeah,
more than
every
anything.
day, every day.
And if you be kind, my wife is going to take a photo
Yeah.
with us.
Come on, get over here.
Yeah, come over here.
Get closer.
I'm going to see her tomorrow. That's why we wanted to get a photo. I had to show her who we met. That's Gretchen, my wife.
Oh, buddy. Here we go.
On 3, 1, 2, 3.
We love you, brother. Thank you for what you do.
So there we go. There was my brief little visit with Eric Estrada. And of course, a lot of folks wanted to talk to him. I didn't want to take up too terribly much of his time, but man, just a sweet and sincere guy. And some of that may have been hard to hear, but he also got a good chuckle when I told him on the Academy graduation day that you thought I looked more handsome than him. he kind of balked at that a little bit, but yeah, he's such a sweet guy and a big law enforcement supporter. And one thing that I know didn't get picked up on the audio, the last thing he said to me, he gave me a real serious look, and he was like, "You be safe. You be safe." I was like, "Yes, sir, absolutely, I will." So, what do you think? Now, the only thing, leading up to this, I wasn't even real sure because it cost me a few extra bucks. Not a lot. I mean, it wasn't expensive, but I was like, I don't know. I'm not really a one to gush over stars. I don't get starstruck easily anyway, and it's really weird because then when I got there in front of him, it was like I didn't get that at all. And maybe that's his personality because he's so. It's just like walking up and meeting somebody on the street. You know what I mean? But I didn't know if I wanted to even bother with it, and we got there, and I was like, yeah, okay, all right. I wanted to get the picture, and it was going to be pretty easy. We were there early, so nobody had really lined up yet. We basically just walked on up, and now after having debated on whether or not to even do that, I was like, we should have brought you, because if you're here in there,
that's true.
The first thing, one of the first things they said to me after I told that story, they're like, "Is she here? Is she here?"
Yes, we can get married today.
So I don't know. Maybe we kind of missed an opportunity there. So
That's very
you
exciting.
want to touch the hand that shaked his hand? Or,
Yes. That was my former future husband.
former future husband.
And your former future daddy.
I know, right? I could have gotten all kinds of acting gigs, maybe. I could be in Hollywood. I could be in TV movies and all that kind of stuff. Well, where else do we need to go from there? Well, let's tell some stories. I can open it up for you, and you can talk about what kind of kid I was and what it was like growing up, or having me grow up with you, or growing up with me, and all
we
the
kind of grew
wonderful
up
things.
together.
We kind of grew up together.
Yeah, sort of, kind of, yeah.
What a beautiful, articulate way to put it.
I just picture a small Dave that he has all the secrets of the universe and he already knows everything and he's teaching you.
Well, that's quite true. That's very true. Very, very true.
He probably caught on quick because he pretty much still does.
That was pretty smart. I had some things figured out pretty quick, don't you think?
Yes, you did.
Or at least I thought I did.
You did. I can remember one time when you were saying you couldn't remember me ever spanking you. And he said that you said the only thing I would say is, David, I could kill you. You said, mm-hmm. But I'm still alive. Guess what? I'm still alive. You never did.
I'm still here. Bring it.
Do you remember Bombs Away?
Yep. Go ahead and tell it. That's when we were still in that.
We were still in the apartment, and I was young, and I talked on the phone all the time, polished my nails all the time. I talked on the phone all the time, and he wanted my attention this night, and I was on the phone. I was going, go on, I'll be there in a minute. I'll be there in a minute. Well, I just kept talking. Well, he reached under the kitchen cabinet, pulled out an empty mayonnaise jar, a glass jar that I was saving. He kept saying, if you don't get off of that phone, I'm going to drop this jar on the floor. I didn't pay any attention. I just kept talking. He said, I'm telling you, I'm going to drop this jar on the floor.
But it wasn't that you didn't hear me.
I heard you.
and
Yeah.
were just
a minute.
ignoring.
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
I'll be there. I'm not through. I'm talking. I'll be there in a few minutes. And you just kept on, Mama. Okay, just a minute, a few more minutes. Next thing I know, bombs away. And you dropped that mayonnaise jar. Of course, I got off the phone immediately before you walked all in the glass and both of us. Bombs away.
Was
And
that the
then-
biggest trouble
and then
he'd ever
that's
been
it.
in?
There's
He
no
never
ending
was
to that
much in
story.
much trouble.
You got up and ran and hugged me and told me it was going to be
No,
okay.
I probably said, David, I could kill you. And you probably said, but I'm still alive.
Got you off the phone.
No, he never did really get much in trouble. He would do little things like that, but he warned me, so I should have known he was getting ready to do it.
I'll follow through now.
He
So I was
followed
going to say, in
through,
other words, he
bombs
means what he
away.
says.
Yeah.
Look,
Boy. Grandmother's over
The
here.
hair
Okay.
washing.
What now? Who?
When you gave him your gown because you did.
Oh, you had this one blanket. You would not use any other blanket.
Oh, yeah.
It was
I
a
haven't thought about
yellow
that in years, yeah.
blanket. My grandfather got it at an auction. Don't know what he paid for it. Maybe 50 cents. I don't know. But you loved that yellow blanket. And it had a satin edging around the outside of it. And you would just rub that satin on the outside of it. You loved that blanket. Well, one time we had forgot the blanket and left it here at grandmother's. We got home, didn't have the blanket. And you just wasn't having it. So you cried. We only had one bedroom, but your bed was in my room. And you laid over there and you cried. And you wanted it. So I reached. It was dark, and
Why didn't you just come get it?
because it was
that
a
far?
long way, and we were already in the bed. And so I got a nylon nightgown of mine. I tried to slip that on you in the dark. Well, of course, it didn't work. You threw it, and that made you scream even more. And you threw it. I don't know how we ever made it through the night. We may have had to get up and go get it. I can't remember. But eventually, we cut that blanket into 4 pieces. I had a piece, grandmother had a piece, the daycare had a piece.
To make sure we were covered.
And I don't remember where the other piece was.
It's like the same way I leave reading.
Or we may have just kept that on reserve. I don't know. But you had, no matter where we were, you had a piece of that blanket. You were satisfied
It's
with
like
it.
the same way I leave reading glasses. Some in this room, some in that room, some
But
at
I
the
tried to
office.
slip
pair
you
in my
that
purse.
nightgown of mine, and it was dark, and I thought, he won't know. He'll just feel that satin
You know what's
piece.
funny? One of the things that I do remember about that blanket, now you weren't there, and you may have heard this after the fact, probably wouldn't recall the story, but we were talking about daycare and went to stayed at Miss Travis's daycare. What would have been her name? Well,
Lillian
Travis, and she had a daycare in the Nashville area. Where was it?
It was on McGavock Pike over in East Nashville.
Okay, some folks may still remember. Well, anyway, Big Daddy had come over there for something one day, visiting. I don't know what he was doing, and I remember him doing little magic tricks for the kids or something. Well, I had a real rotten moment, and maybe it was a jealousy thing because he was entertaining the other kids, and I didn't get any attention. I don't know what was going on, but there was like an old piece of rotten fruit or something that had fallen off a tree, or it was some old nasty, rotten, messy, stinky piece of fruit that had fallen off one of the trees out there in the playground area. And I thought I was going to be funny and I was going to be clever. And I couldn't tell you to this day who the kid was. I don't remember, but I picked that thing up and I smashed it in this kid's face and rubbed it in, and he started crying. I rubbed that old rotten fruit in your face and all that. Big Daddy took that blanket. He
Rubbed that fruit all over that blanket.
He said, "Come here." Woo! It was just a brilliant resolution. He was like, "Well,
That
we
was
can-
your
we can
favorite
fix it."
thing.
Yeah. That's funny when you talk about that. But I remember him. I remember standing there wide-eyed, going with the horror of him wiping that kid's face off with my blanket. Yeah.
Did that end your friendship with that blanket?
No,
that
I don't
for you?
think so.
No.
No.
It's probably long gone by
So
now.
was it gone
Nothing
by
ever-
college at
I
least?
still got
You still
I
have
still
a piece.
got a piece.
You still
You
have
still
a piece
got
of
a
it
piece.
Oh, my
somewhere.
word.
Well, what ended it basically is when he went to school, we told him he couldn't take it with him.
Oh, like the real, like grade school, like kindergarten.
Yeah, like
is,
kindergarten,
couldn't
yeah.
have it there.
You know, you can't be taking your blanket to school with you now.
Oh, good. Kindergarten. I was hoping it wasn't college.
Yeah. No, I could have taken it there.
If
Yeah.
I had let him keep it all during school, just packed it in his backpack, he would probably still have
That's
it. be
interesting.
carrying it
That's
around.
interesting to kind of ponder and think about. Had I been allowed to continue to have
would
it all
still
the time,
have it.
you think I'd
You
be
would
sitting here
still
right now
have
and
it.
still have it?
You sure it may be worn down to something about as big as a handkerchief. You may have a piece of it in your pocket, but you would still have it.
And one of the things that I've talked about, because I went on to school when I went to UT Martin, up where we live, and studied music and everything. But I've often said that I think my love or my appreciation of music even goes back to that time too. And I reference a lot of the things that I remember that we listened to and that you had in your record collection. Bob Seger, Jackson
Jackson
Brown, who is
Brown,
still to this
James
very day
Taylor,
is James Taylor.
Rod Stewart.
Those guys are. It wasn't even too long ago that I was giving you some Jackson Brown stuff,
You sure
some
did.
CDs and stuff.
You
And,
did.
and for folks that know me or that know Gretchen or have heard us play or sing, if you hear me play guitar, you pick up very quickly that I listen to James Taylor and Jackson Brown and. Rod Stewart, I don't know, not so much. Now, he had some novelty hits and some
Hot Legs.
fun stuff. Hot Legs.
Yeah. Mama, you a hot legs.
It seems like I remember that. I don't know if it was that song or a different song, but there was one that opened up with that line about who's that knocking on the door.
That's it.
Because every time somebody would come to the apartment and knock on the door, it was like, that was my cue. Who's that knocking on the door?
And then
That's
you
all
know,
I
go,
really remember.
hot legs.
Hot
I
legs.
love you, honey. You'd be going around saying that all the time. I love you, honey.
Oh, Rod Stewart, Rick Springfield.
Oh,
and-
yes.
I do remember. I don't remember us listening to this, but I remember later when I took your record collection, you had the double live Frampton Comes Alive, Peter Frampton, which there was a period, I guess, when everybody had that record.
Yeah, he wasn't a favorite, but I listened to him some.
I think that's one of those you just had to get because
Just had to get it,
everybody
yeah.
had
Everybody
that record.
had it.
Frampton Comes Alive.
Yeah.
Oh man! But you were in being a child of the '60s, and I always thought this was kind of I don't know, peculiar or unique in that when the Beatle craze was going on and the English invasion and all that, you weren't. I mean, I know you liked the Beatles and listened to them, but you kind of went a different route. You had another favorite group.
Monkeys.
And I've become aware now that there's Beatles people and there's
monkeys people. I was a monkey person.
There's more Beatles people, probably, I don't know, 80-20. They were very successful. I mean, I'm not trying to take away anything from them. They had some good songs and some good hits and all that. But what was the appeal there? Why'd you like them more than
Was
I
it
don't
Davy
know.
Jones?
No,
maybe?
I always liked Mickey.
Oh, okay.
Mickey Dolenz.
I like Mickey. He was my favorite one. I think my sister liked Davy. We actually went to a Monkees concert. My mom took us to a Monkees concert, and my sister and I are completely different. She's more quiet and reserved, and I'm just out there. And I was screaming and hollering, I love you, Monkees. And my little sister would say, Mama, make her sit down and be quiet.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I'd be hollering, Monkees, Monkees. I mean, we were at a concert.
And I mean, in fairness, they would have been one of the quote-unquote boy bands of the day. That's what we think of, like when the kids go, I don't know, One Direction and New Kids on the Block.
And then
or
they
whoever
got
they
their
are.
TV show, the Monkees
Yeah.
TV show.
Did that maybe do it, the exposure and stuff? Well, I don't know, though. You'd have
No,
seen the
the-
Beatles a lot, too. Weren't they not on TV all the time, everywhere you turned
I'm talking
around?
about the Monkees actually
they had a
their
regular TV show.
TV show every week.
I even saw that in reruns. That's how I know about Davy Jones and the Monkees and all that.
I think those
loved
reruns still come on.
I loved it.
Mickey Dolenz and Davy Jones and
Peter Tork
Torque. Okay, Peter. I could not think of him.
and Mike Nesmith.
Yeah, who was it him or his dad or somebody created Whiteout, or he already had a little bit of money, or
I don't know about that.
has since had some money, but somewhere in there. Now you like the country western music and stuff now too, don't you?
No,
Or what do you
not
listen to now?
Now,
Anything?
no, not much. Mostly, well, I listen to John Mayer a lot. If I listen to,
that's another one that kind of a shared interest.
Lady
that I know
Gaga.
we like. You like the Lady Gaga?
I love Lady Gaga.
Really?
Yes.
What do
Yes.
you like? What are your favorite songs? Or
Oh my gosh, there's so many.
Poker Face.
Poker Face, yeah.
see, I was going to throw some of those out, but I mean, those are just ones I just know by title.
I can't even think of them right
But
now.
you know,
Born This Way, Born That Way.
Yeah. And she's one of those. She's easy to dismiss if you don't know a whole lot about her. Is just kind of the crazy show and the costumes and a lot of flash, no smash. But she's a formally trained musician, and I've seen her sit and play at a piano. She's played. She sat with Elton John, I think.
Tony Bennett.
Oh, she did
Yeah.
She did the Sound of Music
Yes,
for one
she
of
did
the
the Sound of
award shows.
Music.
So
And
there's the opera part of it.
I just
too.
saw her about a week or two ago whenever they had those, I think they were Grammy Awards or Emmys, Emmy, something on TV about a week or two ago. And she was just dressed normal. She looked beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
She looked beautiful.
Yeah, she doesn't need all that
No.
weirdness to be popular because her music speaks for itself. She supposedly writes her own stuff. So there's not many of those people left these days. So that kind of, gives a different quality to her music as well.
And it's funny you mentioned your sister Judy, my aunt. I don't know if we called her by name. And that, again, it goes. You don't know why you remember things or things stick with you. But I remember her telling me when I was a kid that she and her husband, sometime before that, I guess it would have been in the mid-late 70s, but that they had gone to an Alice Cooper show, and
Oh, my goodness.
that wouldn't have been for you, right?
Oh, no. No.
Welcome to my nightmare.
No.
You're not into
Not at all.
Alice Cooper.
No.
And I grew up. Now, of course, we talked about some of the music that Mom and I listened to when I was a kid. Or the music that you had, the good stuff that you exposed me to, that I even today, again, still with the Jackson Browne and. But then, as kids are prone to do, they go off and kind of find their own way and develop their own interest and listen to other stuff. And you got to hear a lot of stuff that I liked, a lot of cool thrash and heavy metal. And
Oh, yes. Lucky me.
did you ever seem to get concerned at the time? Nobody ever really seemed to discourage or anything.
Well,
I mean, a lot of that music, for what it's worth, I sound like I'm kind of retroactively defending it, but a lot of those records really kind of taught me how to play guitar, and there was a constructive interest in it too. But
yeah. Well, I wasn't very fond of it, but I figured you'd grow out of it.
yeah. And I might someday.
We're still waiting.
I'm still thinking you might someday.
Yeah, and I try to keep that perspective too, because Nathan listens to a lot of garbage, or what I think is garbage, and I don't know though. When I look back at what I was. How my interests lie at that age versus now and stuff too. Some of that you do just grow out of. I mean, you're not still at home listening to monkeys.
But you did think at one point that Dave's music was garbage too, right?
Well, I don't know that I'd use the words garbage.
That's
but
pretty generous.
I wasn't very fond of it. Mm-hmm. It wasn't for me, but it was for him.
I
so.
think when Dave refers to Nathan's garbage music, it's things that we're just afraid is going to affect him in the wrong way.
Right, yeah.
But isn't that true of every generation?
It
of every
is, I
parent?
think, yeah.
I mean, from the time that Elvis Presley went on Ed Sullivan, or the Beatles got off the plane, or some of that. That's why I say you don't want to be alarmist. You need to be concerned, I guess, and police it a little bit. But at the same time, there's just a certain universal truth.
Do you remember an album that Big Daddy took away from you?
A specific one?
Yeah.
Or
a specific one?
Well, I had a lot, so you may need to help coach me. I mean, I'm sure.
Ozzy Osbourne.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I liked Ozzy Osbourne.
Believe it or not, I've got that album.
Oh, yeah.
He took it away from you, but he gave it to me for safekeeping. So, I didn't throw it away. I kept it. I still got it.
Is it the Speak of the Devil double live record?
I don't even know.
Yeah, because if you still have it, that's actually rare. That was an import. I may be able to get some money for that on eBay.
I'll have to try to.
I have, in years that have passed, I've looked for that, like on the internet and stuff, and realized that it wasn't either. There weren't a lot of copies made, or only a few under that title, and then it was, I don't know. There was a weird story behind that particular record set. That
I don't
double
know,
live record.
but I'll look and see. It's probably, I've got several boxes in the attic of
Well,
stuff of
probably
yours.
not in very good shape though. If they're, because I know even when I took a lot of your records later on, like I talked about the Frampton Comes Alive and stuff. A lot of that stuff had been in the basement, and condition is everything. When
Yeah,
you're selling
that's true.
collectibles. But I don't even have a turntable. It's funny. We saw you remember Alan Smith, my friend from school, Alan. You do. You just
No,
don't recall him
I'm
right
sure
now.
I probably
But,
do.
we saw him and his wife. He's one of my closest and dearest friends from school. But he brought with him last night when he met us an old vinyl Striper album. Kind of, and I was like, yeah, I had that. And he was like, oh, you have one? I said, no, I had it. I don't know where it is now. But you remember sitting and looking at those. Nathan probably wouldn't know what a vinyl record is now.
No,
At
or
all.
a turntable.
And I went through an interesting period, the period that I lived in life and as I enjoyed music, because I was just in that right window where I started like with vinyl records, then cassette tapes, then CDs. Now everything's moved to digital and MP3s. I even remember for a period digital audio tape.
Before the
didn't
cassette
take
tapes.
off. Oh, the 8-tracks.
The 8-tracks.
Yeah. You guys had a Mo Bandy. I don't know, again, why things stick with you. What was that car you had? The Trans Am or the
Was it
black
orange?
T-top?
Oh, black. That was
Trans Am.
a Camaro Z28.
The Camaro Z28. And when I think of the Camaro Z28, I remember the Mo Bandy 8-track in it.
See, I don't even remember Mo Bandy. I don't know who that is.
He was a country music singer. Yeah,
I have not listened to country music in a long time. Country music's not country anymore to me,
Right.
so I don't even listen to it anymore.
Well, I think it's so cute. We have a station back home that Dave listens to quite often, and it has the old stuff. And he
what they
almost
call classic country.
and almost every time we're listening to that, he says that he remembers being in the car with grandmother and Big Daddy listening to all this music, and I just think it's so sweet that he has that memory to go back on.
It's what I guess probably WSM out of Nashville, and it's weird where I would have originally heard these songs when they were current or contemporary. And it almost becomes just like when people say eating comfort food. Like I like listening to that station because it plays that music now, what they call classic country. And it just puts me in that place of riding in the back seat of the box Chevy with grandmother and Big Daddy going to the Blue Jay Grill. And,
Yeah. Every Friday night, going to the Blue Jay Grill.
and it's that music. And I think that it's probably like that for most people who hear now, people can't see those things on the grandmother's bringing in records and pictures that I drew and
Drawings
stuff. But oh yeah, my own stationery. Look at that. I had my own stationery with my picture on it as a little boy.
And do you remember when you was going to get a motorcycle?
I was going to get a motorcycle.
It was going to have a sidecar on it. And grandmother was going to ride in your sidecar, and y'all were just going to tie Big Daddy up on the back. And he said if he was that bad off, he had to be tied on, y'all might want to just leave him at home. I know you remember washing your hair.
No, she said something about that.
You
What's
don't even
the-
remember that?
Are you talking about because I didn't like it?
You hated it.
Oh, okay, all right.
You screamed. We lived in that apartment. I dreaded it every night. I dreaded it. It's such a struggle. She's killing me. She's choking me. Help! Help somebody! I mean, screaming at the top of his lungs. And we're in this little apartment building, and like we didn't have an outside entrance. It was a hallway. You could hear everything.
Oh,
She's killing me. She's choking me.
luckily, that wasn't
Help!
these days. You would have been arrested in a minute.
I was going to ask.
Quiet. Somebody's going to call the cops on us.
Did anybody ever rush to your aid?
No, they never did. But I tried so many different ways of doing it. I try to use a bucket. I would do it in the kitchen. I tried it in the shower. Then I'd be trying to hold your head under the faucet, and you go, she's choking me. Help!
No, these are the kind of days where somebody busts in there and go, "You be good
Oh,
for your mama."
nowadays. Oh, yeah, I'd be.
But back then, they would come in and be on your side. They'd be like, "Now you be good for your mama."
Let your mama wash your hair. But now they'd be hauling me off to jail
That's right.
because he's hollering, "She's killing me. She's choking me. Help! Somebody help! Help!"
See, too smart for his
Every
own good.
night. Oh, I dreaded it so bad.
Do we ever get to the root of those things? Do you ever
I
figure
don't
out
know.
why
No,
it is?
I never figured it out.
You know, because I do have a vague memory of that, but when you grow out of that, though, then you can't quite recall what the sensation was that led you to that place. You know what I'm saying?
Never figured it out. I put earplug. We'd put something in your ears, so if water was getting in your ears, I tried everything. Nothing worked. I don't know what it was.
I was thinking of something the other day when they had when I was a kid, underoos were popular, which was so strange. What a strange product! It was like superhero underwear, but it would come with like a T-shirt and briefs, or I mean, you're supposed to wear the underwear, maybe the T-shirt on the. I don't know, but I guess there was a scare there for a while that the underoos were flammable. And I remember you guys standing in the kitchen holding the underoos over a candle, over an open flame.
To see if they'd
Which
burn.
was so bizarre because I don't know what you were trying to accomplish. I mean,
I don't either.
I mean, what if you were right? They were going to go up in flames. Do you recall that?
No, not
And
really.
it was you and grandmother standing.
I guess if they caught on fire, we wasn't going to let you wear them anymore. I don't know. I don't remember that.
Yeah. Well, by then you wouldn't let me here wear these burned underoos. And I'm thinking, well, at any point, because y'all sitting there waiting for something to happen, I'm thinking, even as a child, I'm sitting there looking, going,
is that a good idea?
Can they not figure this out? I mean, if you
Not a good idea to set them on fire.
if you hold it there long enough, it's going to burn anyway. I mean, it's not like they wouldn't burn, but it was like a scientific test holding the underoos over the candle. I guess waited like gas fumes to see if they were going to ignite. Oh, I know where I was going to go because Randall and I had talked. I think maybe in our very first podcast that we did a few months ago, and Gretchen took me to task. I might have insinuated that you weren't the best cook or that you weren't a great cook. Now I'll back off of that, and I'll say
you don't have to back off of it, son.
I
understand.
You take that.
I admit it. Yes.
I mean, I would say that you've become one, perhaps.
Not really.
Okay, all right. So I don't need to apologize.
I mean,
too much.
I can get by. We don't starve, but I don't cook.
Well,
either.
we were talking about childhood, and specifically we were off on a conversation about Kool-Aid, a whole separate conversation. But I said I remember getting a steady diet of those three things when I was a kid, and it was
Kool-Aid,
Chef Boyardee ravioli. Red Kool-Aid, and
then chocolate oatmeal cookies.
Those oatmeal no-bake kind of, and not that I particularly just enjoyed them or loved them, but you showed up with some today to make sure I got some. And hey, in retrospect, it's like, because like if it was today, it might have been like ramen noodles or something. You got to eat what you can get, right? I don't even know. Chef Boyardee may be expensive now, too. How long were we in that apartment?
Probably you were
Couple of years.
It may have
from
been
2 to
terribly
5.
long. Yeah, when you're a kid, everything seems like such a long time, but not.
You were 2 when we moved in there, and you were about 5 when we moved out.
Well, you were 4 when you lived.
Folks are not going to be able to hear grandmother's over here talking. That's why we have.
He was
come on,
5
talk.
when he started kindergarten.
Yeah. Right. Okay, well, we weren't there. We wouldn't have been there very long. I wouldn't have thought
1980
when we would have moved out.
when we moved out.
Okay. And and I'm kind of jumping all around here. I was talking about the Camaro Z28. Now that's when you were living in Cheatham County, but you had some famous neighbors, and it's so crazy because it was such a rural part of Cheatham County. There wasn't anything hardly over there. Don Williams.
Yes.
Yeah, he was your neighbor over there, which Gretchen had. We heard him on the radio. I was like, "That's Don Williams." She's like, "Who's that? I don't know." And I said, "My mom used to live over nearby him," and the same kind of thing. Yeah, he's a country star. Is he? Yeah,
I don't even know if he's still alive.
He is. He
he
still
still?
tours and plays because we heard an ad for him. I don't know if he was up at the casino in Metropolis or somewhere in Kentucky, and I was like, yeah, that'd be a good show. He's in his He's in his late 70s, but yeah,
Oh.
he still plays and tours. Oh, Don Williams.
Don
right there
Williams. Yeah.
in Cheatham County, and you're in Madison now. Mm-hmm. You have dreams of moving out of there. It's getting kind of rough over there, isn't it?
It's getting very rough over there. Yes, I do
Madison,
have dreams,
Tennessee.
but I won't be going back to Cheatham County.
No. I mean, you're
Yeah.
nothing wrong with Cheatham
Wanting to
County,
get out
but
of
you're
there.
not going to farm yourself, so there's
Oh, no.
you have no reason.
Have no reason to go to Cheatham
And Don
County.
Williams is on the road all the time, so no
Yeah.
reason to go see him.
No, we wouldn't be running into each other or anything. So.
All right. Well, grandmother's over here off mic trying to feed us stories. You got to understand how this works.
I brought a chair
People
over
can't
for.
hear you. Come on. That's not how
She
this
doesn't
works.
want to do it.
Say, hey, people. This is grandmother.
She's not good.
Well, I want to know if Nancy, you'll let me tell a story on you.
Oh yeah, there we go.
On me?
It's my favorite
Depends
I
on
was-
what the story is.
I was kind. I didn't tell any stories. Oh,
Well,
go ahead.
it was one Easter, and in the family, Judy has four kids, but there's a bunch of grandkids, and they were all over here for Easter one year, and you said, "I'll go hide the eggs."
You sent them out to look for Easter eggs.
Yeah, and you didn't, so you sent them out, and they're like, "Where are the eggs?"
We can't find any.
The gag was
There was
there
no.
were.
I just wanted them to go away for a while, where the grown-ups could talk.
Oh, that's so funny! I love that
Keep
story.
looking,
It's my
keep
favorite.
looking. We can't find none. Keep looking.
And one of the things that's great that I know the people that meet you and come to know you, like Gretchen, just kind of touched on it there, that they appreciate is that wry sense of humor, which I think I've picked up, and probably because there are a lot of times when I'll pull stuff like that, and it's very people that know me, like I get that from my mom. Do you remember when we would go into restaurants and like if your food came first? You know, we had a little gag. We would play on the customers. This was long before they had What Would You Do and hidden cameras and stuff. We just had fun on our own.
Expensive.
So, well, let me set the scenario. So we'd go to a restaurant. We're sitting there waiting to get food, and occasionally, I don't know how that would work or why. Either I wouldn't want anything, or maybe yours would come first, or somehow or another, and then we would.
Probably I went to the salad bar and you were
That could be.
You were waiting on
Either
something.
way, to create the scene, you're sitting there with some food in front of you, and I have nothing, and then we would begin to role play for the benefit and at the expense of those around us. And how would that look?
It would be like, quit looking at my food, son. You ate yesterday. I told you you're not getting anything tonight. So you'd be going, but can I have just one bite? And I'll be going, no.
But I'm hungry.
Sit there and be quiet, or I'm going to make you go sit in the car while I eat.
Did you ever get any comments from people sitting around you?
No.
Once again.
I don't know. Did we? I don't remember
Nope.
ever.
Nope.
Nobody
Lots of
ever
looks.
said anything.
And see, in
But
that,
of course, eventually he would have some food showing up. But
Yeah.
for a little while,
maybe folks would figure it out
Yeah.
before
Yeah.
they could work themselves. But you know, and how we glamorize the old days, and you think that people were so, had such better character, and we were such better people, and all that kind of stuff. And there I was screaming bloody murder because you were choking me in the bathtub and trying to drown me, and then you wouldn't feed
Starve
me,
you to
and
death.
nobody ever came to your aid.
And we used to have this store called Woolco. It was sort of like a worse than Walmart. I mean,
Worse than Walmart?
like a low rate Walmart. But I had one particular girlfriend that I had had ever since elementary school. And she would come spend the night with us every now and again in our apartment and all. And we'd go to Woolco. And we were in line to check out one night. You know how you got stuff on both sides, like candy bars and gum on both sides, where you're standing there waiting to check out. And you was reaching out trying to grab this and grab that and grab that. And I just reached down, popped you on top of the head, and said, "Now stop it!" Just like that. I said, "Stop it!" And I My friend was so embarrassed. She said, "I cannot believe you hit your child in the head at this Walmart. At this Woolco. I'm so embarrassed. I want to get out of here." I mean, she was really upset.
Oh, wow.
Because I tapped you on the, I kind of smacked you on top of the head, actually.
Right. I mean, it could have even been a little harder than that, but I mean, it still wasn't.
You didn't cry
wasn't
or
anything-
anything.
no.
No, it wasn't like abuse, but to her
Like
it
you
kind of
punched
was.
me in the
the
mouth or
Woolco
something.
store.
Yeah.
Because we were acting like that in the Woolco store. Yes, I'm so embarrassed you hit your child on top of the head. And she never had any children.
Yeah.
And still to this day does not. But she was fun when she'd come stay all night with us. But she was so embarrassed because I popped you on top of the head.
Well, so that was as close as anybody ever got to intervening or trying to come to your aid. That's
And she
crazy.
didn't. She just got embarrassed and
For
wanted
herself,
to
see,
for her
yeah.
and wanted to walk away from us. Basically,
Yeah, it wasn't like she was trying to rescue me or anything.
no,
Like,
she was just
said,
embarrassed because I did it.
I'm gonna get out of here.
Yeah, she wanted to get out of there and get away from us because we was acting like white trash in the Woolco store, which basically that's all that was in the Woolco store when we was right there with them. But
White trash in the Woolco. Would it be comparable to, I don't know, like Fred's or something? Because that's
really-
what we call Fred's Poor Man Walmart. We
I
go
don't know
to
too
Fred's
much
all the
about
time.
Fred. I think I've only been in a Fred's like once.
Yeah, is that the store that had it looked like a carousel horse? No, that was Harvey's or something. What was this?
Oh, Harvey's was a good store. Yeah,
It had a mascot or a logo. It was like a carousel horse. Or
yeah, that was
like a
Harvey's.
horse.
That was a good store.
Okay, that would be like a good department store.
You probably wouldn't
Woolco.
even remember
No, I guess I
Woolco.
don't. I don't recall
It-
Woolco.
It hasn't been there when Walmart started coming around. I think Woolco went out of business, but it had a lot of good cheap stuff, and
Yeah, right.
that's
Okay.
where we'd shop.
That's what I guess what we would consider, like we do Fred's today, and we jokingly call Fred's Poor Man Walmart, which is not to denigrate anybody because we shop there.
We don't have a Fred's anywhere close to where I live, so I'm not
Yeah,
real. I
yeah.
think I've been in one time or another sometime. I don't know where. I don't really remember that. So that would have kind of been Woolco, I guess. It was as big as a Walmart. It was
Really?
huge.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was
Okay.
really big. Yeah, it was big like Walmart. It was just like a low-class Walmart.
People in there beating their kids, and embarrassing
Just
their
me,
friends.
I guess.
Just you.
I'm so embarrassed you hit your child in the head at this Woolco store.
I can't imagine I would have been the first or only child to ever get
I
smacked in
don't-
the Woolco.
I doubt it. And the rest of them got a lot worse than that.
Well, we're about an hour in, only scratching the surface, but that's probably a good place to stop for here. We may have to do this again, pick up where we left off.
We
and,
might just do
and
that.
continue the story of our lives. But anyway, okay. Well, thanks for trying this out. It seems like now you're kind of getting the hang of it. You understand what we're
Well,
doing now,
all you
kind of how
gotta
it
do is
works.
sit here and talk.
All you got to do is sit here and talk. Gretchen has the hardest time figuring that out. She gets all settled in and then doesn't speak. Every so often, but you got it. Okay, yeah. Well, we'll pick this up again. Hopefully, it won't be another year or so before we
I
make it
hope
back
not.
around. So, you got to come visit us. Come down there and meet all our folks.
We're
and
planning
stuff.
on doing that.
All right. Well, we'll check out there and say goodbye to Mom, and we love you.
Love y'all too. Bye, people.
Thanks for joining us once again, and be sure and listen in the next week or two. Randall and I'll have another regular episode up. For right now, signing off, I'm Pastor Dave with Mom and Gretchen, and we are Any Other Day, They That Believe.